Everyone is arguing about taxes in these three states, and almost everybody is wrong because they are comparing one number when the real answer depends on how you live your life. So let me make this simple. Where do you actually keep more money? Oregon, Washington, or Idaho? Because depending on your situation, the best state can flip completely. I'm Daniela Walker, a local real estate agent in Oregon and Southwest Washington. I help people just like you move in here every single day. If you have questions, reach out. And here's what I'll tell you up front. There are people moving to Idaho right now thinking they're saving money who will actually end up worse off. And there are people avoiding Oregon who would be better off there. So let's break this down the right way. Let's start with taxes, but not the way people actually talk about them, because this is where most people mess up. Let's start with Washington. Everybody knows the headline, no state income tax for now. And I say for now because of the new millionaires tax that is introduced. I talk about it in one of my videos. You can watch that. But for now, there is no state income tax. That's why people move there. But here is what they don't think about. That money still gets collected just in different ways. There are capital gain taxes, estate taxes, business taxes, REIT, the excise tax. So yes, no income tax, but that doesn't mean low tax. And that difference really matters. Now, Idaho goes on the opposite direction. Flat income tax around 5.3%. Lower property taxes, no real estate transfer tax. And here is why people like it. It's simple. You don't have to guess what's coming next. Now, Oregon is the one that people misunderstand the most, because on one hand, you have no sales tax. Sounds amazing, but then you look at income tax and it jumps to almost 10%. So let me ask you this. Would you rather get taxed when you earn money or when you spend it? Because that's basically the choice between these three states. Now let's do a quick breakdown. Washington avoids income tax, but taxes show up elsewhere. Idaho spreads taxes out, keeps them lower, and Oregon hits income hard, but leaves spending alone. And that's where people make a mistake. They assume one of these is just better. Well, it's not. It really depends on you. Now let's talk about what you actually feel every day, because this matters more than taxes for most people. Washington is expensive. Gas is high, utilities are high, everything stacks. And this is where people say, yeah, but there is no income tax. Well, true, but if everything else is expensive, you are still paying for it. Now let's look at Idaho. Idaho is where people feel relief immediately. Gas is cheaper, utilities are cheaper, daily life is cheaper. This is why people move there and instantly feel like, oh, this really makes sense. Oregon again lands right in the middle. Not cheap like Idaho, not expensive like Washington, but here is the part that people don't expect. Housing. You think Oregon is cheaper than Washington, and I'm talking about the whole state of Washington, including Seattle. You start looking at actual homes and you think Portland Metro would be cheaper, but then you look at Westland, Lake Oswego, Northwest, Southwest Portland, you are still paying a lot. So Oregon becomes this weird middle zone, not cheap enough to win and not expensive enough to lose. It's just balanced. Now let's talk about what people actually care. Space, lifestyle, what you get for your money. In Washington, you're paying a premium. Less space, higher cost, that's the trade-off for access. In Idaho, you will get more land, more house, more freedom, and this is why people get excited. They see what they can actually buy in Idaho and it feels like a no-brainer. And then Oregon is where things get more nuanced. You can live in Happy Valley, Gresham, or Beaverton and get more space than Seattle, Bellevue, or anywhere else, and then more convenience than Idaho. So Oregon isn't winning on price, it's winning on balance. But you're definitely paying for that balance. You are not getting Idaho level value. Why people actually choose each state? Let's simplify everything. People choose Idaho for one reason: math. Lower cost, lower taxes, more space. Washington, people stay in Washington for income potential, for jobs, no income tax structure. And Oregon, people choose it because of lifestyle. There is a little bit more balance and no sales tax. But here is part that nobody says clearly. People move for one reason and ignore everything else. They move for no income tax or lower home prices or cheaper cost of living. And then they slowly realize it's not that simple. So here is the real breakdown. Want the lowest cost overall? Idaho usually wins. Want no income tax? Washington still has advantages. Want balance? Oregon sits right in the middle. But none of these are automatic. It really depends entirely on how you earn, how you spend, and how you live your life. If you're thinking about moving between these states, don't guess. Look at your full picture, because this decision isn't just about where you live, it's about what happens to your money long term. I'll see you on the next one.